back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. It's Wednesday, so that means we got more preseason football for you to go over. We got 5 more Week 1 games with a double dose of Dan in this episode.
Sorry.
So you're welcome and or sorry, depending on your feelings on Dan. We're going to jump into 3 of his games, get him done for the week here. Hopper and I will finish up our games on Friday. We're going to do 1 game each in this episode for you guys. As always, we are at Beerfield FF on Twitter, Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube. Also, check out Beerfield FF on Untapped and Instagram if you want to check out some can art and beer reviews. Hopper and Dan are kind enough to do both those for us. So, shout out your intros here. We got Dan Thury.
At Thury BFF. What's up, guys?
And Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's. How you doing?
Well, if you're a new-time listener, thank you for joining Beerfield Fantasy Football. We are here to try to deep dive some preseason football for you, get you ready for some drafts. If you're in Dynasty, maybe find some deeper roster stashes for you, and just try to have a good time while enjoying some great brews.
And break down some competitions. That's my favorite part about preseason. You get to watch things, see how they shake out, and fall in love with some lower-level guys to keep an eye on, like JoJo Natson last year. He didn't do anything with the Jets, did he?
Absolutely nothing, but you had fun.
I did have fun. I have fun with these.
All right, so in today's episodes, we're going to get through a beer preview, game previews. As I mentioned, Dan's going to handle 3 of those.
Reviews?
I see, same previews. Reviews.
We're still working on the difference between
We're still in preseason mode. Yep.
Yes.
It's like,
English is not my first language.
yeah.
We're going to hit a beer review, and then we're going to go ahead and jump in and do a quick mock draft for you guys. Go ahead and check out Monday's episode where we talked about some of our general draft strategy that we've seen so far this season, and then we're going to implement it into a mock draft here for you. But before we do that, let's just do a quick news drop because I want to do the one thing that broke in between episodes.
Double news episodes on the same day? Well, not the same day. I mean, it's Monday, Wednesday.
But our same day.
You get it.
At this point, you guys just talk over drops and don't give a shit.
Only
I mean,
when
he talked. I don't talk until he talks.
I talk over drops when I have something to say. Well,
All right, so the news that broke in between us recording episodes here is that Jerick McKinnon is going to get an MRI here on Monday. So by the time this episode airs, the results of that will already be known, but he went down with a non-contact injury, as we mentioned in Monday's episode. So just want to make sure that, so there's probably more details than are out now, but just keep an eye on what Jerick McKinnon's status is.
I didn't know if that required follow-up or
No,
not.
it didn't. It was just, I wanted a quick comment on that.
Works
McKinnon's
for me.
status is in flux as we're recording. So for the beer preview, we've got Surly back on for the first time since December of 2017. They were on our 100th episode, which was how we capped off the year last year. And then they are now back here in August of 2018, 4th time on the show. And we have, I'm going to try to pronounce this phonetically, BAW. BAW. B-A-O-W. It stands for Barrel Aged Oat Wine. It comes at 9.6%. It is, as described, a barrel aged oat wine. We'll give you guys a full review here once we get through all the preseason recaps.
What the hell happened?
Oh, and I should have done this in the intro, but shout out to Ryan Miner. He gave a contest to pick which shirt he's going to wear at his draft. It was between us, F3, and Fantasy Tilt. We each had to put in our reason for doing it. The other 2 went for the strategy of trying to bribe children because the children were the judges on which shirt was going to get worn. We went for
smart.
Mom gave a mom answer.
Yeah, I gave the authentic answer, but basically just try to be classy about it, give him props, and they picked ours. So congratulations to us. He's going to rock it at the shirt, and then we have an awesome picture of the 3 kids holding up the shirt now.
Nice.
So
They look super happy.
That is fantastic. I need to see that.
all right, well, jump on Ryan Miner's Twitter and check that out.
I
And
will.
shout out Ryan, who he is a writer over for Loaded Box Podcast.
And shout out Loaded Box. I just feel like we haven't talked about those guys.
It's been a long time. Shout out Ben and DJ.
I will find a way to get them on shortly here.
I-
Honeymoon's over. They're both married now, so we can get them on the show.
One or both. Yeah, maybe they can talk me out of it in time. Kidding. I don't want to be talked out of it. Kidding.
Does she still listen?
She doesn't have time, thankfully.
That's both a good and a bad thing.
This will be the one episode she listens to because she's doing the Benny's draft, and I'm going to get decapitated. So it'll just be Nick on Friday.
0 to 100.
Solo episode. All right, so we got 5 game previews for you. As I said, very Dan focused on this episode, so we got through his before. He's actually going up to his dad's wedding.
Yeah.
Up in Bemidji, Minnesota.
Love is in the air.
Love is in the air.
Love is everywhere. Also, bless you.
For Bemidji?
That's where some of the U.S. curling team is from.
Most of the U.S. curling team.
Hey,
you should know that.
Team Schuster.
There you go.
All right, so kicking this
Curling
off.
Matty Hamilton.
All right, so we're going to kick it off first with Redskins at the Patriots. Patriots win this one 26-17.
I forgot I did the drop already. It almost happened again.
I was going to just talk over it if you did. But Dan, what happened in this game, and what can we expect from these two teams?
This is so gross. So the big focal point for me for Washington was obviously watching Darius Geis. Geis looked good before his big breakaway one that led to his knee injury, which then found out it was an ACL tear. So we don't get to really see him obviously much this year because he's going to be done for. But as for the other running backs, Rob Kelly did get to start, but it was pretty much led into Darius Geis, and Kelly looked like shit and didn't do anything. So, and then P. Ryan came in. P. Ryan looked a lot better, looked a lot quicker. He played with more power. He looked a lot better than he did last year or on tape. He did have a fumble, but that one as well, I think, got ruled for forward progress. So I don't know what the refs are doing with this. A calling the plays really for running backs. Obviously Chris Thompson didn't play, but Byron Marshall, not Bribs, who got the backup start for that role. So maybe if something happens to Thompson, Byron Marshall may have some deeper PPR upside. As for the receivers, no one really stood out because I don't think any of their starters actually played. Doxson, I think, saw some snaps, didn't do anything. Colt McCoy had a decent game, went 13 for 18, 189 and 2. But he's done it for this long, so I'm not entirely shocked by that. As for the tight ends, no one stood out there either. It was a pretty meh game for Washington. Any thoughts from you guys?
Just sounds like it's probably P. Ryan Thompson are the main two targets now with Geis'
those
injury.
are the big talking points right now with the Geis injury.
Did I miss the part about Rob Kelly being terrible?
You did.
You did.
That was like literally one of the first things he said.
Well, then I'm reiterating. I'm really glad Rob Kelly's terrible.
And P. Ryan looked better. So there is some potential upside. Jay Gruden likes the backfield. We did joke about saying maybe DeMarco Murray will come out of retirement. And then somebody on Twitter shouted out saying that maybe the Rams should trade John Kelly to Washington. And then I got super excited for a second.
Don't let random Twitter chatter get you excited. You'll be always disappointed.
I know.
It was Brandon from her FFB.
Yes. Shout out to them.
Shout out to her. Shout out to her. Yes. But that got me excited too for a minute. And I know it's just random, but just the thought of it. I mean, we can dream.
Yeah, and we love John Kelly. Anytime I get to bring up John Kelly for whatever reason, that's not about the Rams sub that we're about to talk about.
The Rams get what we're about to talk about.
So we're not there yet.
We are going to talk about some John Kelly.
As for the Patriots, again, Brian Hoyer got the majority of the time. Obviously, Tom Brady didn't play. The wide receivers didn't do shit, so it's mostly about the running backs here. Gillislee got to start, struggled, didn't look good. He had issues picking up short yardage work.
Gillislee got the start?
Gillislee got the start, but it was a lot like with the Kelly P. Ryan thing. It was really mixed between him and Jeremy Hill. Hill looked a lot better than he's had in the past, but it's still a really fucked up backfield, and try having fun guessing how that's going to play out. But he had a good game. He went 11 for 51 and a touchdown on the ground. He did show some nice open field moves, after a check down pass to him. And as I said before, the wide receivers, no one stood out. No one really played. Obviously, Deckard didn't line up and play because he just got signed onto the team. I didn't see Chris Hogan out there, so I doubt that he played at all. And obviously, Edelman is still battling his injury, and I don't even think he can play, even if he was healthy. So this game was pretty much meh. As I can tell from you guys is...
Sorry,
looking at me, no one gives a fuck about this game either.
I'm up in the listener league right now.
You're good.
To make a draft pick.
Nothing matters in this game.
So yeah, it sounds like basically I think the biggest news piece I heard was Hill looked good.
It was Hill, yeah, and then Brian Hoyer played the majority of the game, and we really saw. I think Danny Etling came in late in the fourth, mid fourth, somewhere around there.
Did he look okay?
No.
He
looked not enough to talk about.
He looked meh. He looked like you'd expect a third string quarterback to look.
Well, we're actually going to talk about the third string quarterback on Friday's episode who looked way better than I was expecting. So, but we'll get to that.
I think we talked about Josh Allen. One of those too. Pity laugh.
All right.
Rams at Ravens. Nick, this is your game. Ravens 33, Rams 7. What did you see?
This gets real ugly on the Rams side. So Rams score 7 points. Let's first go over who didn't play. No Goff, Gurley, Cooks, Kupp, Woods, Everett, or Higbee.
Nobody.
Nobody who's in redraft fantasy relevance played at all.
Does Sean McVay forget that this is week 1 and not week 4?
Maybe. I don't know. So the running back order was Malcolm Brown, then Justin Davis, and last was John Kelly. Malcolm Brown, barely saw anything out of him, but we've seen him do it before as a backup, so we know he's at least a competent change of pace back if needed. Davis and Kelly both looked good. Kelly especially was drawing a lot of plays, but I think Davis almost looked as good as Kelly did, and that was against slightly tougher competition. So both of them are players to keep an eye on. It could be enough for one of them to leapfrog Brown and become the primary handcuff.
Okay.
Sean Mannion is terrible. So if anything does happen,
surprise.
he went 3 of 13.
Ooh, Jesus.
If anything happens to Goff, this team is in some real
They're going to
trouble.
call up the Eagles and try to get Nick
third
Foles.
string?
I don't remember, but he was also terrible.
Took too long. Moving on.
So I'm going to quick pull that up here. And Josh Reynolds was the only player kind of note that I was keeping an eye on at all besides the running backs. He did have 2 nice catches. He had a terrible drop, though, so he's continuing to develop. He looks like he is running as the quote-unquote wide receiver 1 in this game, so he was effectively the wide receiver 4. But yeah, that's about it for the Rams. They basically didn't play anyone. Moving on to the Ravens, Flacco looked excellent his first drive. He had good passes to Hurst, Brown, and Crabtree. Crabtree dropped one of them, but beyond that, I think he didn't miss a single throw that I saw. Lamar Jackson continues to throw better running ability than he did in the Hall of Fame game, so that's developing. His touchdown run was excellent. Passing, still a bit of a concern, though. Missed a couple easy passes, struggled with footwork, so he still has a lot of work to do. He's nowhere near ready to start.
What's up, Cam Newton?
I'd much rather watch Cam Newton than what I saw here.
I would too. I was a comparison, though.
Alex Collins and Buck Allen both played very well. Collins is more in between the tackles. Allen was catching a lot of balls, but he does what Buck Allen does. If you're in a full point PPR league and he gets this number 2 job,
sounds like he will.
He is going to have low end flex appeal week in, week out and be a great bye week fill-in.
And this is what I call that is a thing to watch for the Ravens is that Alex Collins struggles as kind of a pass catcher. So watch that there's going to be somebody that emerges, especially in PPR formats, as being relevant here. So early on, looks like it's Buck Allen.
Yep. Gus Edwards came in as the running back 3, and he continues to look good. Caught a couple passes. Not a super dynamic runner, but he's basically always positive plays.
It's kind of like watching Mike Turner play.
I thought you were just going to leave it in always positive. Like, he's got a real good outlook on things. So never hear anything negative from him. Just a real positive person, real uplifting. Attaboy, Gus.
Vance Joseph should bring him on for the Broncos.
Yeah,
they can both have the time of their life together.
I can't wait for the coaching Deadpool.
But yeah, so he's looking good enough that if Dixon can't get healthy, he may be the running back 3 here.
Dixon's on the bubble. I wouldn't be shocked.
And then for the receivers, outside of the starters, it was real ugly and real quiet for most of the game. Hurst was done after the starters were out, so I didn't get to see any late Hurst reps like we did in the Hall of Fame game, which was fun. So it was basically just Jaleel Scott and Jordan Lasley I was watching. Neither one did much of anything. Jaleel Scott still doesn't have a catch through 2 games, and Lasley had a single catch for about 5 yards and a bad drop.
All right.
So kind of ugly news on that.
You watch a lot of games with bad drops.
There was a lot of bad drops in these games.
Especially from rookie. A lot of bad drops from rookies and a lot of hesitation from rookie running backs. So
that's part of the growing pains.
Just early on stuff.
All right. Another ugly game. Cowboys at 49ers.
I'm up again?
49. You're going to be up every other one.
This is a Dan episode, man.
49ers 24, Cowboys 21.
We only have one apiece. The rest is you.
So we'll start with the Niners here. Obviously, the 2 big notes here are the 2 major injuries. Well, 1 major injury and 1, I guess they're both major. Both Kittle and Breida both injured their shoulders in the first corner of their game. As we talked about in the news episode on Monday's episode, none of them received structural damage, so they should be back by week 1. Kittle a little more concerned down because of the amount of injuries he's accrued so far. As for Garoppolo, he played 1 series. He looked a little bit inconsistent. He missed a couple of receivers, but then again, he turned around and had some nice throws out there. McKinnon struggled, but it may have been the O-line more so than just him. I believe his 2 of his 3 or 4 carries went for negative, 1 went for like -3 or 4. And then just for depth order of these running backs, especially with the McKinnon news, is that Raheem Mostert was the 3rd back.
I'll help you out there. I heard you gearing up and mentally prepping for it.
That's right.
Let's throw it out there.
He is the 3rd back. He's ahead of Joe Williams and Jeremy McNichols at this point. Joe Williams did have a decent game. He did stand out, make some nice plays, but all 3 of the running backs at the back end looked okay.
Hey, Nick, you're on the clock.
I'm aware. I'm pulling it up right now.
You guys are amazing.
Go ahead.
The second team looked pretty bad for the majority of the time they're out there, but Thard looked fucking dreadful. His deep ball is
Terrible.
bad,
God
just
awful.
everything. As for more bad drops from rookies, Pettis had a couple of those, but he did make up. I think he had a couple of nice plays later on into the game. And then as for more running back depth questions, McNichols didn't actually get under the field until about 5 minutes left into the game. So there might not even be a chance that he even makes the team, especially unless these injuries are a lot more concerning than otherwise. So that was the Niners. Any questions, thoughts as you keep flicking off Nick?
He sniped me, kind of. I was hoping to grab that coming back around the turn.
Yeah, not going to happen. Sorry.
No questions.
He's too distracted by me.
I'm on an
sniping at
island
Nick.
right now. What's up, guys?
No questions on the Niners, really. The wide receivers are what I'd be watching most for there.
And we'll probably not see enough.
Richie
Probably not
James
gonna
had
see
a
whole lot, so
had a couple nice things, but we didn't see enough of Garoppolo to really get a chance to see what could be of
or
this.
Godwin or Goodwin or Garcon,
Yeah.
I'm assuming either.
I don't
so,
think Garcon played.
Yeah.
As for Dallas, Dak's one nice drive. Or Dak had one drive. The whole offense looked pretty good out there. Rod Smith looked fantastic. If Zeke is to miss time, Rod Smith does have the ability to play all three downs as we saw last year.
And he should see a little bit of work.
He may actually, like just given what the workload they want to give Zeke, Rod Smith could just have standalone value in those 14 plus leagues as a flex, as a weekly flex position for the bye weeks.
Mm-hmm.
As for the other players out there, Michael Gallup had a beautiful touchdown reception from Dak. Kind of a broken play, but
Yeah, the defender just let him go.
but either way, it's nice to see. I think I saw on Twitter as well, Terrence Williams and Gallup ran with the first team. Hearns didn't play until the second team came on the field with Tavon Austin. So
And Hearns was playing late is what I heard.
he did. So there's a lot of shakeup.
Tavon Austin, the running back or the wide receiver?
He's
Yes.
wide receiver.
Okay.
Bo Scarborough looked good when he got out there. He had some good runs. He was using the passing game. He got a goal line touchdown. It took him a couple times to get in, but he finally got there. He got a lot of work out there, so that's good to see. One deep receiver note: Lance Lenore didn't stand out, on the stat sheet, but he did led all Cowboys receivers in targets. And he had a really nice back of the end zone reception late into the game. So just a note to keep on potentially if anything were to happen as their 5 or 6 receiver. And then a fun note, I didn't know, Kellen Moore is now the quarterback coach for Dallas.
Yep.
Oh, cool. All right. And
That's it.
Cooper Rush looked good.
And Cooper Rush looked good.
And
So
Mike White?
I didn't put that in. Mike White barely
Played
played.
the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, pretty
apparently.
much.
Awesome. Great outlook
He
for him.
played
then.
pretty much the fourth quarter. That's about it.
All right. As I almost previewed incorrectly on Monday's episode, it is now time for Titans-Packers. 31-17. Packers pull this one out. What do we see in this game, Auber?
All right, so starting with the Titans, they played almost nobody. I mean, Deion Lewis and Derrick Henry and Mariota and Taywan Taylor were the only guys that you figure to be fantasy relevant that were in. That means that there was no Corey Davis, Rashard Matthews, Delaney Walker, or Jonnu Smith. Taywan Taylor flashed heavily, though, working as a top wide receiver. Excellent positioning, good hands, good athleticism. He looked incredible. So if this team is a team that's going to throw more than he could be relevant, you might be looking at him on waiver wires later. Rashard Matthews isn't a model of health. So.
Yeah, Matthews has been dinged up this entire training camp process. Taylor could start creeping up.
Yeah, if Matthews isn't going to be ready for the season to start, then Taylor's the one that you want to take a throw at there because he would be the backup slot guy in that case. So, I would keep an eye on Taywan Taylor. He figures to be on the field anyway, but they don't figure to have enough volume to make him relevant without an injury. I wouldn't think.
Or unless he can just straight up overtake Matthews.
Right, which I don't
And even then,
really see that happening. So Mariota looked accurate and mobile again on his one drive. So he looked good, but it was one drive. Other than that, not a whole lot here. Luke Falk looked like he settled down. He outplayed Blaine Gabbert, which isn't saying much. He still didn't look great.
More than I was expecting.
And then Akram Wadley looked really hesitant initially. He had a bad fumble. You could watch his runs and just see him physically hesitating on when he wanted to cut or where he wanted to go. Fourth quarter against four-string defenses, he kind of settled down and started to show a little bit more what you saw in college. But generally speaking, David Fluellen outplayed him. So something to keep an eye on there.
Bless you.
He may not be long for the team.
All right, and on to the Packers.
On to the Packers. This is a little bit more interesting. Did not play Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb with the injury, Jimmy Graham, Aaron Jones wasn't in there either. Jamal Williams got the first crack as a running back. Him and Ty Montgomery alternated early reps. Neither one really did much to separate themselves. Williams showed off some vision, couple nice cuts in space, but still, nothing doing between the tackles as a runner. So that job is very much still up for grabs. Jake Kumaro flashed hard. He made several big boy plays. Sidelines, end zone. He looked very good as you look for a wide receiver 3 here, because I don't believe in Geronimo Allison, even though most people do. Jamon Moore did everything well but catch the football, which is kind of important for wide receivers.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. He showcased his athletic ability. He was getting behind people, getting around people, adjusting to the ball well. He just couldn't catch it. And then the other rookie, Valdez-Scantling, showed off some exceptional sideline work, athleticism, positioning, hands. He looked very good. D'Angelo Yancey flashed a little bit with some sideline work. Equanimous St. Brown was very solid. He didn't really do anything that made you say, oh my God, but he made the plays he should have made. And so basically the takeaway here is that especially if there's if that Cobb injury is long-term or is going to hinder him throughout the season, there's targets to be had here, and I don't know who the hell it's going to be.
Yeah, they can't all go to Devontae Adams.
No.
Somebody else has to get volume.
Well, Jimmy Graham.
Especially with
Jimmy Graham.
But especially with this offense, I mean, the 2 and the 3 figure to be relevant. And, Cobb, you figure, is the 2 if he's healthy.
Yeah.
But with the ankle injury, that's not a guarantee. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Right now, after this game, the way that I've got it ranked, I've got Kumaro, Valdez-Scantling, Yancey, EQ, Geronimo, Moore, based on what I saw.
All right.
And Geronimo just didn't make himself known, really. He had 1 or 2 catches, but didn't really do much else.
I think people are trying to force Geronimo into that 3 spot just because he was the one who was there previously, but I've never seen anything from him that made me think he would be the guy.
No, and he was running with EQ early and Devontae Adams, but really he played into the second with the rookies and didn't really do anything to separate himself. So, I'm not assuming he's the guy. Kumaro's, like I said, the one that really flashed, and if he continues to flash, Kumaro played second quarter on. So
and just for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know this before this weekend, Kumaro is a 4th-year undrafted free agent. He was originally signed with Cincinnati, and he ended up with the Packers, I believe, last year, and he's been with their kind of practice squad the last couple seasons.
Yeah, so he's finally flashing, though. But Valdez-Scantling looked like the best of the rookies.
Okay.
All right. And then last game here for you guys on today's episode, we got Lions at the Raiders. Raiders 16, Lions 10.
Oh, this is boring too. So Matt Castle got to start. Obviously, Matthew Stafford didn't play. I don't think Marvin Jones played. Golden Tate. It was Golden Tate, and then I think Galladay got to play, but the passing game was pretty non-existent. The offensive line looked great for the running, but not for the passing. As for the running backs, Kerryon Johnson looked drawn between the tackles. Abdullah looked great as well. He looked good in open space, especially on a check down, especially on their lone touchdown drive. It was all Abdullah who finally had a chance to show some flashes, and we got to see what a Lions running game could look like when they actually have an offensive line to field out there. Johnson's best run of the day came on a hold, which seems to be a common theme in week 1 of preseason. He broke a couple tackles. He made a couple great cuts. Pretty much looked like the future 3-down back in Detroit. It just depends on everything plays out. But all the running backs actually look good. Johnson went 7 for 34 and 4 for 33 through the air. Dula went 4 for 21 and a touchdown, and LeGarrette Blount went 5 for 21. The running game was the only thing that was worth really talking about here. As I said, I believe between Castle and was it Jake? I forgot his last name. Rudock. I think they both threw for under 100 yards. So it was pretty bad for for them on the passing game. As for the Raiders, do you guys have anything on the Lions?
No, Kerryon Johnson was the thing I was most interested
Yeah.
in from that.
Yeah.
How did the running backs run out there? What order?
Yeah, sorry about that. It was Blunt was out there, and then Abdullah. I don't think Riddick played, so when Blunt, Abdullah, and then Johnson got in, sprinkled some in during the first 2, 3, 4 series. Then it was mostly Abdullah and Johnson. Then Johnson took over until the fourth quarter started.
Gotcha. That's something that I'm watching.
Yes.
Really is who's out there with who.
Yeah, and just with how good the Lions' offensive line looked, this has been getting talked about through through some of the other through some of the other podcasts I listen to. This could be a very good run blocking offensive line, which the Lions may actually be able to field a 1,000-yard rusher this year if they can figure out who they want to throw out there.
Too many mouths right now.
I said they could. If
they can figure it out.
If they can figure it out.
I.e. Kerryon Johnson, and if he stays healthy, because it's not going to be Abdullah. It's not going to be Blunt.
Shit. As for the Raiders, more of the same as along the lines of the Lions. Derek Carr played one series, made a couple nice throws, and then made a couple terribly thrown balls. One of them was like just still aired. Try to throw a deep pass to Martavis Bryant, who would try to make like 3 or 4 adjustments just to get to it. Lynch had a nice run that was obviously called back on a hold. There was a touchdown run. You can clear as day to see the hold, but again, Lynch looked good for the one chance that he had to actually carry the football. So the stat sheets actually showed nothing. Doug Martin came in, and then it was mainly those two. And then you got your Washingtons, and Richard came in for most of the second and third quarter. And then Chris Warren came in and fucking killed it.
Yes.
13 for 86. He looked very quick out there. He had a couple nice big runs. He looked like a man among boys against
The
four
future.
Sinners. As for the receivers, nothing there. Cooper played maybe a series with them. Jordy had one reception that I don't even think I saw it. So
Yeah, it was like
Not
I
looking
think it was
great.
one catch for 4 yards or something.
Yeah. So nothing really stood out for the Raiders outside of Chris Warren.
Okay, so yay Chris Warren and boo to everyone else.
Everybody else sucks.
Fucking thing sucks.
Everything sucks.
All right, well, that's all we've got for these episodes. Hopper and I are going to do the last 5 games on Friday, so keep an eye out for those when Friday's episode drops. But it's time for a beer review before we do a mock draft.
Beer review.
So what did you guys think of the barrel-aged oat wine, or BOW for short?
Bow.
BOW.
I really like it. It's got a nice, like, oaty kind of sweet flavor up front. You don't get a whole lot of it's a rye barrel aged, so you definitely get some of the rye taste out there, but not a lot of the burn like you would. It's not harsh. It's not a harsh barrel age. But yeah, a lot of the honey pops out, finishes with a little bit of vanilla. The oatiness is definitely there, and I think the oats popping out is kind of an interesting thing. You don't get a lot of beers where those really show up, so I'm really pleasantly pleased with this.
Yeah, you get the cream, like you get the smooth kind of in the middle there. As Hopper said, there's a hint of vanilla in the finish. I like it. I'm just not quite sure, I guess how to phrase it, of what I'm feeling here with it. But that's learning process for me. So
You're having English problems, aren't you?
I
Nick?
do.
No, Nick. Mock drive
Mark,
on this spreadsheet.
we're doing a mock
We're
drive.
all having English issues. But yeah, I think I love how just sweet and smooth it is. It's got, as you guys have mentioned, it's got a little bit of that creaminess factor on it. No heat on it whatsoever, considering it's almost 10%.
No.
This is real dangerous. If you drank a bomber by yourself, which I could easily see
I'm
myself
glad
doing,
I shared this with you guys.
I would be in real rough shape.
'Cause I would have drank this whole thing.
I'm glad you shared it with us too, because it's really good.
But yeah, fantastic bomber from Surly. Their beers, outside of, I think, there's only one of theirs I've ever had that I didn't like. Everything else has been excellent. Excellent beer. If you can find a bomber of it, highly recommended. So anywhere up in the upper Midwest, you might be able to get your hands on this guy. So thank you very much, Surly, for jumping on the show. It's been too long since we had you on, and we will go ahead and jump into a mock draft.
I'm trying to anyway. Having problems over here.
Fantasy Mock Draft.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
I'm so glad you kept that in there. I love it.
I said that one cuts out so early. All right.
Sorry.
So we're going to go ahead and do a mock draft here. How are we doing for time right now?
30.
30? All right. So we're going to probably do about 25, 30 minutes, just kind of play it by ear for how many rounds we can get through. Just kind of showing you some of the draft strategies we talked about here in the previous episode here, where we're going to try to look at maybe starting to draft some quarterbacks, where we're taking the tight ends, elite receivers, so on and so forth. Starting off first, I gave Dan the first overall pick. So
Aw.
who are you taking with the 101?
David Johnson.
You have switched your number one.
I have. I've updated my rankings since the last time we've talked about the running backs.
All right. Any particular reason why you've moved him up?
So I moved Bell down just because of that off chance he could miss with the suspension. I've always been
You
concerned.
mean hold out?
Yeah, with this holdout. I've always been concerned just with his yak from last year. And Johnson's the true only focal point outside of Larry Fitz. I mean, Johnson can literally do it all. And I was looking more so a reason to bump him up to one.
Okay.
Uh,
With Topper with the 102.
Todd Gurley. I have not changed my number one.
Yep. I mean, he's my 2, so.
All right. Any particular reason why you've not moved anybody past him or that you're fully confident in?
David Johnson, again, it's not anything to do with him so much as it is that offense. Zeke, it's just I want to see the receiving work first, and then Bell, it's the contract situation, the holdout and whatnot. So, yeah, that's why I'm on Gurley. I feel most comfortable with it.
I wish we could screen share what I'm doing right now so people could just see the mock, but I'm just laughing because I'm going ahead and putting where I know the running backs are going to go already.
I mean, I can screen share.
All right. So
I'm not going to.
With the third pick, my number 2 player is actually very different from you guys. I actually have Zeke as my number 2, just strictly on the expected volume I have for him. And it's a half point, not full point PPR league. I'd probably go Bell here if it was full point, but in half point, the amount of carry Zeke's going to get behind that offensive line is enough to push him ahead for me.
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
very
it's-
different. He's my 3.
Okay.
Zeke is.
And then Dan, I'm assuming we know who the 4th is.
Yeah. You can just put it. It's Bell. I mean, big 4.
Yeah. In this, I don't see any reason not to go for these 4. These are the 4 that I think have the most locked-in workload, that have shown us the talent already. And even if there's some question marks about some of the situations, it's just a question of which one is the one, not do they belong in the top 4.
Right, and it can be I can see an argument for. We've talked about it before. We can see
Yeah.
arguments for any of these 4 being the one.
Exactly.
And it's really, it's close. It's not even close scenario. All 4 of these guys are really close.
That's why you want the 104 this year in
And
most leagues.
And I assume I know who you're going to take at the 105.
Antonio Brown.
Yep.
So yeah, after the big 4, I'm gonna go get the best wide receiver that's out there, and there's really not a whole lot else to say about that. He gets volume. He's consistently the top guy year in, year out.
All right, and then this is earlier than I would do it in pretty much any other season, but I'm going to take the first rookie off the board here at the 6th pick and grab Saquon Barkley. Probably the only share I'm going to own of him is in this mock draft.
Jesus, I don't even get to draft Barkley in a fucking mock draft.
This is all chalk to how I just would rate
Right?
this out. Yeah.
So this is kind of part of the issue of top 5 guys who are drafted in the top 5 as running backs historically just produce as rookies. Obviously, injuries could happen, but if they don't, they should get around 250 plus fantasy points in half point PPR. Trent Richardson is part of that average, and he didn't pull it down. He was still a running back 1 as a rookie. They're just going to get fed enough opportunities and enough catches, enough carries to produce as long as they're healthy. So the volume's going to be there. I trust the talent. He is absolutely worth being the 5th running back off the board. Go ahead, Dan.
We're going to go with, based on my rankings, we're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins.
There you go.
This is probably one of my just all-time favorite receivers at this point, one of my all-time favorite players. Continues to get it done and was the most consistent in terms of weekly production last year.
All right, Nick, who am I picking?
Right?
I'm assuming here it'll probably be Kamara.
It's Kamara.
Yeah.
This is all, again, just it's chalk, and even with the efficiency falling off, the 4-game suspension for Ingram, the volume is going to be plenty. I don't think that the efficiency falls off of a cliff or anything like that. So I'm very comfortable with Alvin Kamara here.
All right. So this is starting to be where I'd start looking at some of the elite wide receivers like Hopkins, who went here at 7. There is one running back, though, that I have ranked before I'd start taking the next wide receiver, though, and I am going to go ahead and grab Leonard Fournette here. I think he's going to probably see the second most carries in the league this year. I like that he's lost some weight. I like what they've done to that offensive line. We've been hammering it all offseason. We're big fans of Fournette.
He looked incredibly agile, too. Like, you could tell that the weight loss helped him.
Yep.
I am super pumped.
In preseason.
And as we did in our rookie redraft episode at the end of last season, he was still my 101 after last year, even with the great seasons that Hunt, Kamara, and some of the other running backs had.
You changed it. I was the only one that had him as our
No,
as
I
101
still had Fournette as the 1.
Okay.
I've not moved off that. Okay. All right, Dan, you're at the 10.
I'm going to go with our third receiver here because fuck it. Why not? Although Beckham Jr. is my pick here. A guy that when he's healthy just produces top 3 receiver numbers. I think he averages 95 receptions, something crazy, 1,300 yards and double-digit touchdowns.
I think it's 1,400 yards.
It's
absurd.
insane.
All right. Well, I'm going to go. I would actually have flip-flopped Nick's pick with this one if I were just doing this mock draft on my own, but I'm going to go ahead and take Melvin Gordon. Leonard Fournette should have the edge in efficiency, but I think Gordon's going to probably see about 70-ish targets again this year. He had 84 last year, so I still think that he's going to have some receiving upside with it being half-point PBR. So I am definitely going with Melvin Gordon.
I don't have any argument with Gordon. Just I see a little bit more upside and efficiency out of Fournette.
I don't have an issue with Fournette either, honestly. They're the same tier.
Yeah,
with Kamara.
Yeah, I've got Fournette, Kamara, and Gordon all in the same running back tier. Barkley, I've gotten a tier by himself. All right, I'm up to finish this first round here. There is a couple running backs I'm looking at, but there's actually a receiver here who's my number 4 receiver that I'm actually going to grab, and I'm going to go ahead and take Keenan Allen, who I'm projecting to have a monster year, especially with no Hunter Henry there this season. Very excited for him. And in fact, in the King of the Draft, I started Hopkins Allen in a 1.25 PPR reception league and 7.5 touchdown wide receiver league. So I'm quite excited about that.
And Hopper and I agreed. I think it's supposed to be a podcast draft, right?
Yeah, it is our podcast.
I was gonna say
we all end up running them solo though, just because it's too much of a pain to do consensus on everything.
Yeah.
All right, and then I'm coming back here on the turn, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and grab Delvin Cook. He was on pace to be the 9th best running back last season. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be able to be ready. It was a week 4 ACL injury. This is plenty of time to recover from what we've seen from players now. All reports from camp are he's fine. This offense should be good enough to keep stacked boxes away from him, and he should have plenty of open lanes to run through. Don't like him as much as any of the guys taken in front of him, but he's definitely my next favorite running back on the list. Hopper, you're up at 202.
All right. So starting out Melvin Gordon on this team, I'm going to go ahead and snag Devontae Adams. With Randall Cobb fighting injuries, his target volume could go even higher. He's actually my wide receiver 5 because he's the number 1 in Aaron Rodgers' offense, more or less. So Devontae Adams is set to have a huge season, and I love pairing a potential top 5 wide receiver with a top 10 running back.
All right. 203, Dan.
This is where the old Beckham team gets super happy because they get to grab a potential top 5 running back in Kareem Hunt. So I can pair up another top 5 receiver with a potential RB1.
All right. Coming back to my team here. Most of the running backs I'd be interested in pairing with Fournette are off the board. They keep going higher and higher and higher. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my next wide receiver off the board. I'm going to go ahead and grab Julio Jones to pair with Leonard Fournette. Definitely a little bit of boom bust there with Fournette's touchdowns and Julio Jones being kind of a little bit more inconsistent in some of his production year to year. But he does tend to finish as a top 5 or 6 receiver. So pairing that with Fournette, I am perfectly happy to roll that out.
All right, and then I'm going to come around here. Alvin Kamara is where I started on this one. I'm going to go ahead and get another potential top 10 running back and start this team running back with Devonta Freeman. The other guy I would have been thinking about here would be Mike Evans if I was going to go with a wide receiver, but I'm not going to pass up the opportunity, especially, still a little bit of questions about Kamara's workload whenever Ingram comes back and the efficiency will sustain. So give him a little insulation here.
All right, Dan, you are up at the 206.
So normally I like to try to grab another elite receiver because there are teams where I'll start receiver, but just given where we're at now, I'm going to pull the trigger on Joe Mixon. I do believe that he's going to be ARB1 this year, and I'm very excited for that.
That, I think, might be the highest I've seen him go in a draft.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I'm pretty high on Joe Mixon, but that's I think is the highest.
No,
I've seen
it's
him
the
go.
highest I've seen so far.
All right. I'm continuing. This is a lot where I like to grab a lot of elite receivers as kind of this part of the second round, and I don't quite want to go to my next tier of running backs quite yet. So I'm going to go ahead and grab AJ Green here, my wide receiver 6. Pair that with Barkley. AJ Green, very, very safe year to year unless he has an injury issue. Outside of that 1 year where he had the hamstring problem, he's always finished as a wide receiver 1. Occasionally, the offense isn't that pretty in Cincinnati, but in the preseason game, they just ran straight down the field twice. So they may have fixed a few of those issues in the offseason, and this team may be back on track to be at least top half of the league type offense, even if it's not elite. Hopper?
All right. I'm going to do the opposite of what I did with my team at the last pick, and I'm going to go wide receiver to start this one. I am going to go ahead and take Mike Evans to go with Antonio Brown. Evans is still going to get target volume despite having additional wide receivers there. And I think he performed really well with Fitzpatrick in last year, and then Winston was QB1 after he came back from injury. So that's a potential top 12 guy as your wide receiver 2 at that point.
Dan?
So for this team, I started off Le'Veon Bell here. I'm gonna actually be able to pair him up with another guy who could be a top 5 receiver, and that's Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is gone.
Is he gone? Oh wow, I'm an idiot.
Yep.
More or less.
Don't drink and draft, kids.
Don't drink
or
and
do
draft.
drink and draft and just
Always
prepare for the
This is why you
consequences.
take. Yeah, this
Always
is why
drink and draft.
Always drink and draft. So we're gonna go with T.Y. Hilton here then. A guy who has top 5 potential, who showed it before, with Andrew Luck back. So good start for this team.
All right. Gets to me there at the turn. There's a player who hasn't gone off the board that I'm really surprised at, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab Michael Thomas here.
I was eyeballing that when I took Mike Evans. But we know my feelings on the Saints offense. Michael Thomas is my 11. I like this pick, though.
Yeah, I think there's enough upside there with Michael Thomas. I expect his touchdown rate to come back up this season.
Completely missed that.
That is the lowest I think I've seen him go.
He's usually going at the turn.
Yeah.
So if I can grab him and pair him with Zeke, I'll do that all day.
That's great.
Hopper, you're up at the 211.
All right, well, I'm going to feel gross about this, but there's a lot of hype around this guy. I'm actually going to start this team running back as well. I'm going to go ahead and grab Christian McCaffrey, and this also may be close to the lowest I've seen him go.
And this is close. It's
not
probably a
off.
pick or two off.
It's not as far off as Michael Thomas is.
No, not even close there. He's usually closer to where like Evans and Mixon went in this draft. Is that usually that range? So he's probably 2 to 4 picks off.
Yep.
All right, Dan, finishing off the second.
So I'm going to do what I've seen in a lot of one-on-one mocks. I'm going to take Doug Baldwin here, and I'm going to pair him up with Rob Gronkowski, and then start off with potential ones at each position for running back, wide receiver, and tight end.
All right, so first tight end comes off the board at 301. That's about the right spot for Gronk to go. I've started to see him creep up. I've seen him go as high as 208 in a draft recently, so you may not get him here. That's a spot I'd like to take him, though, if he falls.
I do expect him to keep moving up drafts.
All right, Hopper, you've started two running backs on this team, Gurley and McCaffrey. Who are you adding in the third?
So I started Gurley McCaffrey in the third, which means I need to get some safety at wide receiver here before I start taking some dart throws. So I'm going to go ahead and snag Larry Fitzgerald. He is the best receiving option in that offense. If Bradford's healthy, he's a lock for about 120 targets. If Bradford's not healthy and Rosen's the only healthy one, he's still the best wide receiver on this team. So you can invoke LaFell rule. You can invoke the fact that it's Larry Fitzgerald, but I'm not going to invoke the LaFell rule on Larry Fitzgerald. That's an insult. But yeah, Todd Gurley, Christian McCaffrey, Larry Fitzgerald to start this one. I'm okay with that.
That's a very safe team.
Yeah.
All right. My team here started Zeke, Michael Thomas, and I need to figure out who I am going to go ahead and pair with that. Sorry, I just need to quick grab my rankings. That's an obvious pick for me. 1 second. Running back off the board, who I still really like, who hasn't gone, I'm going to go ahead and grab Jordan Howard.
There you go.
There's my snipe.
I was wondering when you'd snipe me on that.
I was like, I feel
Could have
like
been my next pick.
I was like, if Fitz went at the 302, there's got to be somebody obvious who I want more, who's still available, and then it's like, all right, Jordan Howard. So yeah, Zeke, Thomas, Jordan Howard. I've got almost a for sure running back one. I've got a possible guy who could finish as a back end running back one, pairing it with at least top 8-ish wide receiver. Great start to a team. I'll do that all week. Bell, Hilton, and who you add into that, Dan?
So the guy that I've been preaching about all offseason, a guy that I've been super high on who's going to finish as a wide receiver one, that's going to be Amari Cooper here. This is a little bit early for what we've been seeing in mock drafts, but I got to stick to my guns and take him early.
All right, so that puts it back to Hopper. You started this team double wide receiver, Brown and Evans, so you're probably looking running back here. How are you going to solve this problem?
I am looking running back. I'm going to go upside. I liked what I saw in preseason from the footwork. Saw everything I saw on college film. There's nothing to make me think that I'm not going to love this guy during the season. Royce Freeman is who I'm going to go with here.
Okay, this is absolutely the highest I've definitely seen
this
him.
is
It is a round early. It is a round early, but
This is 2 rounds early.
He's up in the fourth now.
Is he in the fourth now?
Wow. This is early, but when you looked at Booker, who really did nothing, and then Royce Freeman, who showed the vision, the cuts, the smooth running style, against first team defenses, it could end up being when you look back on this at the end of the year, it could end up being chalk pretty much.
All right. So Royce Freeman goes over Jerick McKinnon. A bit of a surprise there.
Well, I don't know the status of McKinnon's MRI either, so that's a little scary.
All right. But I actually have another guy in front of McKinnon, so I'm going to go ahead and take him. Just legal issues and all, I'm going to go ahead and grab LaShawn McCoy.
He keeps sniping me.
Oh, I forgot he was still there.
Yeah, he keeps sniping me.
I'm going to go ahead and pair him with Barkley and Green.
I would not have taken Royce Freeman over LaShawn McCoy if I had been paying attention.
Full disclaimer.
Full disclaimer.
I did the same thing.
Get
with
your
Michael.
rankings up, guys.
I do have him up.
I'm looking at my stat projections, and even then, I haven't updated them in 2 weeks. I was in the middle of updating them when we took a break to record. So,
All right.
Real life.
So that team starts off Barkley, Green, McCoy. Dan, you've got a team with Hopkins and Mixon. How are you going to add to that?
We're gonna go with one of my other favorite receivers, a guy who flashed pretty hard in his preseason game with his new quarterback Cousins. We're gonna go with Stephon Diggs here to pair with the team that could have a lot of upside.
I like that pick a lot. He is my wide receiver 14 in my rankings as well. Hopper, you are up. Who are you adding to Kamara and Freeman?
I'm not gonna love this, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a swing on Demaryius Thomas.
What we just talked about in our previous episode, you not liking him to be your one.
Yeah. I really don't like him to be my one, but at the same time, it's either him or Allen Robinson. I don't like either of them to be my one, but Case Keenum showed, despite his preseason struggles in one drive, that he can support 2 top-end wide receivers, and Thomas should get targeted. Thomas did actually, I think, have the one reception that Keenum threw. So,
all right. So I see quite a few names I like here that I could possibly swing back to me. But I think I kind of want to try to do a similar build to what Dan did at the 101 pick, where you start top picks at all 3 positions. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Travis Kelce here late in the 9th and know that I have a pick coming back to me in 6 picks. Late in the third, sorry. The 9th pick.
9th would be,
what
the fuck happened?
Sorry. In the 9th pick in the 3rd round, I go ahead and grab Kelce, where I know I have a pick coming back to me with just 6 more picks, and there's a few guys I still like on the board I can grab at running back or wide receiver. Dan, you got Beckham and Hunt. How are you going to add to that team?
With the massive shakeup of running backs, with all the injuries to these to the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 kind of running back list, shaking everything up, I'm just not quite as comfortable with taking one here, even though there are some names that I like. We just don't know yet. So I'm going to go with one of the safer and more consistent receivers and grab Golden Tate, a guy who's good for typically 89 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and hopefully can get some more touchdowns.
not a bad snag there. I'm going to come around to get my running back 2 for this team. I'm going to go ahead and take Alex Collins. I'm a firm believer you definitely have to take 2 in the first 3 rounds most of the time. So Alex Collins should at least have the rushing work in Baltimore.
All right. So that team starts Gordon, Adams, Collins. Very good start there. Team 12 for me started Allen and Dalvin Cook. I got to figure out who I'm going to add to that. This is definitely earlier than I've seen him go anywhere else, but it's the next running back I have on my list, and I like him over the other receivers at the option. I'm grabbing Lamar Miller here at the end of the 3rd round.
You dropped him with Beerfield when that happens.
We would not have said that last year.
Nope.
Lamar Miller's definitely snuck up our draft boards at this point. It's mostly a situation of I trust him more than a lot of the other running back 2s. Either they're rookies with question marks, timeshares, where I'm not sure the guy's going to win the situation. Where Lamar Miller's dealing with a Achilles injury on Deontay Foreman being his only real competition. By the way, preview to the Friday episode, Alfred Blue looks terrible. He is not taking any work away from Lamar Miller.
Somehow that's not breaking news to me.
That's not
he's
surprising.
always looked terrible.
All right, and then to pair it with that, I have another pick immediately up. I'm going to go ahead and add Adam Thielen as my wide receiver 2.
Hooked on a Thielen.
So that team starts off with first 4 picks of Allen, Cook, Miller, and Adam Thielen, and we're coming back around to Hopper's team with Gordon, Adams, and Collins.
All right, so this is going to feel gross, but as my wide receiver 2, I like the upside. I'm going to go ahead and snap up Brandon Cooks for the Rams. And volume question, sure, but they went out and traded for him. They signed him long-term. I think he does outproduce every other wide receiver that's there. So
yeah, he's definitely,
I'll take him as my 2.
He's definitely my one choice. I've got 3 names I would take in front of him at wide receiver, but I don't dislike the pick.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that I might in some areas too, but it just depends.
All right.
Team structure matters. If I didn't have, if I'd gone running back, wide receiver, I probably wouldn't take him here.
Okay. But since you had Adams, you felt safer.
Since I had Adams, I felt safer doing it.
All right. Dan, you started Beckham, Hunt, and Golden Tate. How do you get into that?
So just with this team built so far, I feel more comfortable taking this player. I'm going to take Jarrett McKinnon. I'm going to end the mini slide that he's been on. I know with the knee injury there's a lot of concern here, but him as my RB2 instead of my RB1, I feel a lot more comfortable with that.
Also, keep in mind we are recording this on Sunday, so if it comes out like that he tore an ACL,
that's why.
Then
no, this is either too late or too early, depending on how that news breaks.
Yes.
Right.
This is the we don't know pick.
We don't know.
This is if we were drafting this and this just broke.
Yep.
All right. I am back up then. I started with team here with Fournette, Jones, and Kelsey. So I'm definitely considering running back here, possibly wide receiver. Highest player on my board, though, I'm going to have to definitely jump on them. I'm higher than I know the other 2 on this player, so I could wait. So this is a know your league thing, but I'm going to still draft my board. We'll go ahead and grab Alshon Jeffrey as my wide receiver 2 to pair with Jones. His catch rate was historically low last year, but he started breaking out kind of the last half of the season with Wentz and Foles. I think he's going to put it together better this year.
I think he's fine as your 2. I wouldn't want him as my 1.
Yeah, it'd be ugly to have him as a 1, but pairing him with Jones, I feel much safer about that. So that team's going to be a little bit running back desperate, but should be stacked at wide receiver and tight end.
I was going to go one way here, and then I realized somebody hadn't been drafted yet that I would love as my 2. It's more of a hope one of Demaryius Thomas or this guy hits. I'm going to go ahead with Allen Robinson. I've got Kamara, Freeman, Thomas, Robinson here, and the hope is if both of them hit, great. If both of them are mediocre, I'm probably still okay. If one of them blows up, though, I'm good. So
yeah, I have Jeffrey 1 spot in front of Robinson, so if Jeffrey had been sniped, Robinson would have been the pick.
Yeah, so
all right. Dan, you started a team off with Hopkins, Mixon, and Diggs. How are you adding to that?
So I'm going to continue with the balance thing because for some reason I've been able to build balance because most times I go either wide receiver. I'm going to go with Deion Lewis here. A guy that I have been super high on, a guy that I think is going to end up winning more of the 50-50 split from Derrick Henry. And in any PPR format, he's a lot better.
All right. Moving on to the 407 pick. I've got started off with Barkley, Green, and McCoy. Got to figure out how I'm going to add to that. Wow, never thought I'd own any shares of this guy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab Tyreek Hill here to pair with A.J. Green, similar to the Adams-Cook start. This gives me a boom-bust profile player to pair with A.J. Green, pair that with Barkley and McCoy, who, pending legal issues, should at least be relatively safe for me, and I get at a guy who can possibly win me some weeks onto that team. All right, Hopper, you've got Browns, Evans, and Freeman. I assume you're probably grabbing a running back here.
I'm not going to grab a running back here. I'm actually going to make sure that I get the only person that's really separated from the quarterback pack. I'm going to go ahead and grab Aaron Rodgers here. I was thinking about doing it back with Team 11, which is Gordon, Adams, Collins, Cooks, but I didn't necessarily want the Packers stack just because that's I don't like investing too many high picks in one offense. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers here, though. Running back I know is probably going to be a weak point, so let's go ahead and solidify quarterback.
All right. Team 4. Dan, you started Bell, Hilton, Cooper, so you got a couple low-end 1, high-end 2 receivers. You got Bell as your starting running back. How are you adding to that?
Some where things get kind of murky here, but I think looking at the board, just seeing how things have played out, and I can grab a guy who I'm not really concerned with the guys behind him, even though they keep adding players to that. I'm going to grab Kenyon Drake. I know that me and Hopper are both higher on him than Nick is, but have him as my RB2 with him flashing last year, on a consistent week-to-week basis instead of, a couple games gives me hope.
All right, so that team starts off Bell, Hilton, Cooper, and Drake. We're going to team 3, which is mine. Started Elliott, Thomas, and Howard. Got to figure out how I'm going to add to that. Since I have Elliott and Howard, this is about the point where I actually want to start kicking the tires on Mark Ingram. I've got a pick coming soon where I can probably grab a wide receiver to pair with this team. So let's try to just hit a home run out of the park on running back here and pair Ingram with Howard and Elliott. I don't need him the first 4 weeks. I can weather that storm. And then I'll be able to have 3 possibly running back ones per game on the rest of the season stretch.
All right. So for me, starting Gurley, McCaffrey, Fitzgerald, I'm going to turn here and I'm going to go ahead and take Jarvis Landry. Did I just snipe you?
Team
I'm
safe.
making sniped a bunch.
Team safe.
Yeah, this is
I
going
love this
safe
pick.
again, but he's the number 1 on the Browns, and I don't figure the Browns to be terrible this year, especially with what Todd Haley's offense looked like. So, and on Hard Knocks, Landry looks like a beast. So there's that too.
Yeah, that definitely helps. All right, team 1 started off David Johnson, Doug Baldwin, Rob Gronkowski. One of your favorite starts, Dan. What are you doing in round 4?
We're going to go with a guy that I think is safe. I know you guys are completely low on him. I'm going to grab Michael Crabtree. I think he is good for over 120 targets in this offense. Joe Flacco has shown a guy he has shown his love to his wide receiver ones in this offense. And Crabtree figures to be one of the bigger red zone options in this offense as well. We should have a lot of passing yards to it. As for my next pick, I can go in a lot of directions here. I should be grabbing another running back, but with David Johnson there, I feel a little bit comfortable. I'm going to take a little bit of a stab in the dark here. I'm going to get Marvin Jones, one of the big play receivers from last year. He led all receivers, I believe, in yards per catch at 18 and continues to have a very, very good training camp.
All right, so that team starts off David Johnson, Doug Baldwin, Rob Gronkowski, Michael Crabtree, Marvin Jones. So we are in round 5. How are we doing on time?
We are at 56.
56? All right, we'll probably just finish this round, and then we'll do a quick wrap-up. Hopper, go ahead and add to team 2 here. That started Gurley, McCaffrey, Fitzgerald, and Landry.
I'm going to go ahead and take Zach Ertz. I know Goddard's got a lot of hype, but I mean, Ertz produced last season. He does have some concussion issues or whatever, but
or whatever.
or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get the last of kind of the top 3 tight ends here.
All right. So I'm kind of in a weird spot here because my next ranked player is going to be a running back, but I don't really need another running back on this team. I already have Elliott, Howard, and Ingram. I only have Michael Thomas at receiver, and I don't have a quarterback or tight end. So I'm in a situation where I'm going to be either looking quarterback or wide receiver. I think I'm actually going to go quarterback here, though, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Russell Wilson and his slide there. He is far and away my quarterback, too, in this situation. He looked excellent in his preseason game for the one drive he had. I have no concerns about him, even with some concerns about Baldwin. And I'll just lock up who I think is a top 3 quarterback without question.
I honestly considered him with the last pick also when I was talking to Ertz.
All right, Dan, you are up. You started this team Bell, Hilton, Cooper, and Drake.
And there's a good chance that I would have taken him here had he landed here. But I'm going to go with a show favorite and I think Twitter favorite and gaming favorite, and that's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster here. Mm-hmm. Massive upside in this offense, even with Antonio Brown there, and do a Bell and Juju stack. And as my 3.
I like that.
That was the other player I was considering besides Wilson.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
You and I would have flip-flopped then, easily.
Yep. All right, Hopper, you started this team Brown, Evans, Freeman, Rogers.
Okay, so now I feel like I need to go running back. I'm going to go ahead and take... So it's between Chris Carson and Marshawn Lynch here for me.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, not names I was expecting.
I
had about
mean,
3 in my head, and they were not any of
well,
those.
Crowell's up. I guess Crowell's up there too.
Also, not the name I was thinking of.
There's one name, maybe.
Is there? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not overlooking something. I don't think I am though.
You won a Super Bowl last year?
That's one of the 3 I was
That's
thinking
one
of.
name.
Oh no, I'm not high on him at all.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm not at all high on him.
Yeah. Dolphins traded, as a punishment, they traded him for a ham sandwich, and then he went and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm floating through here.
Cue in the elevator music. I don't know where the fuck we're going. I'll sing in different songs.
Yeah.
You're singing Jeopardy?
Okay.
I don't know what I'm singing.
I why can't I? Oh yeah. tabs on spreadsheets are hard. Derrick Henry.
Okay, that was one of the names I was thinking
Okay.
of.
Yeah, that was the one guy that I kind of overlooked here. He is going to work in tandem with Deion Lewis, but I do expect him to take most of the between the tackles stuff and most of the goal line stuff. So, and Deion Lewis is not exactly a model for health.
No, he's not.
Very true. So this is a team here. I started Green, Hill, Barkley, McCoy. Not in that order. So I'm going to go ahead and add to one of those two positions, most likely with the top two quarterbacks gone and all three top tight ends gone. So I'm not really interested in grabbing one of those two positions. So I'm going to grab a player I've generally been higher on than YouTube because he does kind of produce on his own and has some upside with an injury. And I'm going to go ahead and grab Tevin Coleman. Pair him as kind of an upside play with McCoy and Barkley and a fill-in if anything does happen to one of those two. All right. Dan, you started Hopkins, Mixon, Diggs, Lewis on this team. How are you going to handle this in round 5?
I'm going to grab another high upside type of receiver here on an offense that figures to have a bad defense, so a lot of throwing. It's going to be Sammy Watkins. A lot of buzz with him.
He has risen
and
so
Mahomes.
much.
He has risen a bunch. I think partially to us a little bit.
We haven't helped.
We have not helped.
Nope.
All right, so I started this team: Kamara, Freeman, Thomas, Robinson. I'm going to come around and I am going to grab a third running back with some upside. I am going to go ahead and take Marshawn Lynch here. The peripherals on Lynch looked absolutely amazing last year. It was just his usage. I don't necessarily believe in Doug Martin as a thing, despite John Gruden wanting to. So I'll get Marshawn Lynch as a potential flex play, and then give me 2 RB1s and an RB2 that I can start every week.
All right. Well, if my draft starts like this, I'm going to be skipping a lot. I know Hopper wouldn't appreciate this pick, but starting Fournette, Jones, Kelsey, Jeffrey, and adding Jay Ajayi to that.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that.
Yes,
pick.
it's 2 Eagles, but you know what? Being able to get those, get Ajayi as my running back 2, and I was able to start Jones, Kelsey, Jeffrey in the through 2 through 4. I'm going to take that all day.
All right.
Akai.
I'm struggling with spelling today.
Well, I struggle with speaking every day. So
I don't hate JJ. I just have some volume concerns with the amount of mouths that are there. Like, I've always liked JJ as a player dating back to Boise State. It's a volume thing for me mostly. Dan, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I know. I'm just letting you speak.
He was the running back 26 off the board too, so I'm happy with that.
That's okay. Yeah, that range is fine. I don't hate that.
Oh man. So for this team, I started out Beckham, Hunt, Tate, and McKinnon. It's not really insulation for my McKinnon pick with a guy who has just had a concussion, but who looked very, very strong in his run. I'm going to go with Isaiah Crowell here. He flashed on that injury that he had on. And the Jets may be gross to draft from, but he's a guy that has shown that he can be the guy if given a chance.
All right, Hopper, your last draft pick for your team 11 here.
All right, I started this one: Melvin Gordon, Devontae Adams, Alex Collins, Brandon Cooks. I'm going to go ahead and take Delaney Walker here. I'm going to get a safe tight end that he's had over 120 targets or over 100 targets. I think 4 seasons now.
Yep, he's
Four-
been a
four-
top
four straight
6
seasons.
tight end, I think.
And he's got 4 straight seasons being top 6.
Yeah,
it's
and
been
he's
very good.
Super undervalued, so some people may say this is high, but with the boom busting Cooks, give me some solid receiving floor.
I thought about tight end here. It was between Graham and Walker.
All right.
Graham too. Graham's hair below Walker for me.
Yeah.
So everyone I love before I hit my second tier quarterbacks is gone. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my QB3 here, pair them with Allen, Cook, Miller, and Thielen, and go ahead and grab Cam Newton here. Gives me a boom bust type quarterback option, try to win some weeks. What's the sci for?
The side, it's the horrible offensive line and Norv Turner wanting to use 5-7 step drops and Cam not being great with his accuracy.
It's around early. If you could have taken him on the
I
other
still
pick on
like-
that turn, that would...
I still like Cam.
So 512 versus 601?
Yeah.
I'm still fine with Cam because there's a lot of upside
I
to
like
him.
him more mid-6, but yeah, I get it.
Well, the other name I was looking at there, it was between him and Crowder. I have them literally 1 spot apart from each other with Newton 1 spot higher.
Yeah.
There's so many nicks and injuries at this point where it's just like, I don't...
Yeah, so
It's mock.
I started with
Have fun.
2 running backs, 2 receivers, grab a guy I view as a top 3 quarterback. I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that.
That's completely fine.
So yeah, which of your 4 teams do you like the best?
I gotta look this over. The 2 spot's not bad. 5 spot's terrible.
I like my 4th spot. Even though I fucked up the Thomas and Hilton pick.
Yeah, if you'd started Thomas,
That would have been
Bell, Thomas,
that
Cooper,
would have
Drake, Schuster.
that would have been Bell, Thomas, Cooper, Drake, and Smith Schuster, which would have been
Actually,
my favorite team.
Yeah, I think 3 is my favorite team because of that. Because I started Zeke, Thomas,
Yeah.
Howard, Ingram.
I think
Wilson.
you sniped me like
I think 2 is my favorite team, and 8 and 11 are close. 2 was Gurley, McCaffrey, Fitzgerald, Landry, Ertz.
I like 10 a lot just because of the upside. If there is something wrong with McKinnon and getting him in the 4th round and getting a guy like that,
It's why like 8 it has a lot of upside also
Yeah.
with Thomas Robinson and Lynch, and then 11 just it felt more balanced-ish. I don't know. It's like Gordon, Adams, Collins, Cooks, Walker. I can love it or I can hate it or I can feel gross about it. It's one of those drafts that I'd probably walk away from feeling gross, and I'd go back and look a couple days later and be like, oh yeah, I'm okay with this.
All right. And then just a quick kind of preview here. Any players you'd be specifically targeting in the 6th round? So like who's still left that you'd be like trying to grab next pick?
I know for my first team, I only have one running back with David Johnson. So I would definitely be looking for a running back, hopefully with some upside. I got like Jamal Williams, even Chris Thompson with the guy's injury. But that's a long time from.
Yeah,
these next
Andrew
picks.
Luck's got to be in there. Chris
Yeah,
Carson,
that
who's
too.
gotten a lot of hype with Seattle, has got to be in there. Penny looked absolutely god awful. Coming around, wide receiver.
Crowder and Cobb for me.
Crowder, Cobb with the injury. Garcon would be another
Yep.
one that would be in contention there.
And I'll be looking at tight ends with with
Graham.
Graham and Olsen. I love Breeze. I know that me and Hopper are very different on those offenses, but Breeze is my 3. So
I don't hate
I know
Breeze.
I know you don't hate him.
No,
You're just indifferent on the offense.
Burkhead and Cohen would also be starting to be in that conversation too.
Yeah, Burkhead especially with Michelle's knee problems.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to the mock draft episode, guys. I'll go ahead and get that tweeted out here before the episode drops so you guys can see the teams. But this is just an episode where you guys can go ahead and listen to our walkthroughs on that. If you guys have seen if you guys see the mock draft, pick which team you like the best, vote on it. I'd like to get a conversation started on that. Go ahead and let us know which team you like the best, and tell us where you think you're wrong in the comments here on YouTube. Remember, you can always subscribe at Beerfield Fantasy Football. Catch us on the video there. Find us on all podcast platforms if you'd prefer getting us in the audio format. You can follow us Twitter at BeerfieldFF, and that's also our Instagram and Untapped venues if you want to catch the bottle art on Bow. I'm sorry, I thought it was Brow. Bow. And then Hopper will write a review on that on Untapped, and then go ahead and shout out the individual handles. I'm at Nick Sparts. Dan Thur's across from me.
And they're BFF, slightly inebriated.
To my left is Christopher Hopper.
Hot BFF with 2-piece.
And then Hopper and I will be back on Friday. Dan will be up in northern Minnesota for a wedding.
Yep.
So we'll probably try to get a guest on for that, so it's not just the two of us yelling at each other for 60 minutes. But other than that, we will catch you guys next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.